Hi everyone, welcome back to another Business Bite. And today I have Devin from Kick Fitness here with us, and he's going to be talking about fitness for life more than just weight loss. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so tell us about your business, what you do.
So as Kelsey said, my name is Devin Sarno. I am the owner and head trainer at Kick Fitness in McHenry. We've been open for almost 3 years now. Personally, I've been in the fitness industry for about 12, and I've kind of spent a lot of time, educating myself and learning a lot about people and fitness. And at Kicks, we help people improve their strength, cardiovascular health, and a whole gamut of things with specialized, coaching and just being available for people while they're there, programming their workouts, and also just helping guide them, make sure they're doing things the right way, giving people modifications when they need them.
That's important. That's the things why I like going there, is because of that, and it's flexible schedule, which is really nice. So I haven't worked out in a very long time. So as we came together to talk about this topic for you guys, I thought to myself how much I need to go back. And originally, I think we all kind of go into that mode of, we work out because we think we're fat or blah, 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 blah. But this topic is more than that today. We're going to be talking about how, just more about, instead of weight loss and building muscle, but how it's a powerful tool to improve the quality of your life. As we get older, I know my birthday's on Friday. I'm going to be 36, and I'm like pretty much halfway to being a grandma. So, so it's an important topic that we want to go over. So I'm excited about this. So why don't we take it away? So we already talked about basically what you do, but let's talk about like a clear, simple summary of like what we're going to talk about today.
So like Kelsey said, fitness for life. So, a lot of people that I've seen over the course of my time in fitness, they come to me because they want to lose weight. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
And they want to, potentially get stronger. There's maybe some other specific goals, like they want to do a certain, race or something like that. But I almost hardly ever hear somebody come to me and say, hey, I want to do this because I want to live better.
Yeah, yeah.
And ultimately, that's the goal of what this, what I do, what fitness is for. We, over the course of time, people used to be hunter-gatherers and things like that, and, spent all their time really on their feet, moving around, exercising, just for different reasons.
Yeah.
And, now we are in a much more kind of sedentary society, a lot more sitting, binge watching TV, drinking alcohol, all those things. And I think a lot of people kind of get away from exercise as a part of life, and they think of it as a, like I said, a means to an end as far as, weight loss or, just getting stronger and things like that, rather than thinking about it as something that's going to help them live, a more fruitful life and, be able to be more independent into their later years. And
I mean, how many of us see elderly or older adults struggling to do certain things? I know we had that really nice little patch of warm weather, and I was outside like raking some of the leaves that fell late that they didn't get to take up. And I got back into my house and was like, oh my God, I'm like, my body hurts so bad because for one, I'm probably not using the muscles properly while I'm doing it, but also I don't work out those muscles enough to really utilize them the correct way. And I probably would have been able to accomplish way more if I was consistently exercising and working out those muscles a lot more than I actually do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, it really changes everything. I mean, you'd be surprised that, even people that maybe aren't losing weight, I hear constantly of just how much better they feel.
Yeah.
Just by, moving and, improving their nutrition. That's a big piece as well. That we kind of tie all together with fitness, and nutrition is a big component at Kick Fitness as well. But the amount of things that'll change in your life, how much easier certain things will be, like you said, even just raking leaves or even just going up the stairs, stuff that maybe we think is simple in our 30s, 40s, 50s that all of a sudden we get to our 60s, 70s, 80s, and you're like, oh, like this is very hard now, and or I can't do it at all.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think about this every day. I'm always like, oh, I know I need to get to the gym. And then I don't, because I put mindsets up about the whole weight loss thing, but I forget to think about this piece, which is, I think, a really important piece for you guys, is to really think about that. A chamber member and I had a conversation the other day, and he's an older gentleman, and recently he's had some health scares, and but his whole life he's been doing like jujitsu. I said it wrong. I know it's like,
I think that was pretty
well, it's not jujitsu, but
Oh.
it's like jujitsu, but it's like, it's a very weird term. Anyway, but he does that, and so he's very active, and he had a pretty recent, like a really bad recent scare, and thankfully he has actually taken advantage of working out. He's in the gym all the time, and he does these jujitsu things that has kept his body moving, that has actually helped him a lot with this issue he's going through. And I feel like if he didn't have that, it probably would be a lot worse. My mom recently lost her foot, like the tips of her foot, and she has a hard time moving but she doesn't work out. She doesn't lift her feet all the way. And so I think people tend to forget that moving your muscle is really important, and you have to consistently do it to stay fit and go into the next set of your life,
Yeah, and when stuff like that happens, I mean, obviously, it's not like all health scares are 100% avoidable, and but when something like that does happen, your ability to bounce back, like you said, is going to be significantly greater.
Totally.
If you're already doing all the things, as far as exercise, quality nutrition, and all of that, it's going to make a huge difference.
He ran a 5K this past Saturday, and I'm like, I just watched him do it, and I'm like, my God, I can't do. But if I was actually moving my body, I probably could have kept up with you.
Well, and I think, I'm sure everybody's heard, New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people there's just to go to the gym. And I've found kind of over the course of time, there's usually kind of two reasons why things like that don't last. And the first being is that they don't see results right away. We kind of live in that immediate gratification society, and if all of a sudden, you're 3-4 weeks into doing something, you're like, this is hard, and you don't see a change.
Yes.
Because you've only been doing it for 3 or 4 weeks, that can be discouraging, and a lot of people at that point may stop. The second one being is they don't know what they're doing. They'll go for a little bit and maybe just go on a bike, treadmill, elliptical, and then that's kind of what they get sucked into doing every time that they go, and then that gets boring, and they don't know what else to do or how to use other things. And, so that can kind of throw somebody off the track there too. But
that's kind of where I was at. It's like, I don't know. So it's important. Like, so we're going to dive into the meat. And the first one was, if you don't currently exercise, find ways to start. And so you had mentioned, getting a gym membership, talking to a fitness professional. And I think those are just simple. Everybody should know that type of steps, right? If we're wanting to move our body more, take more advantage of the care that we have. And it's asking the people how to do it, right? Like, I'm as a photographer, most people still want to take photos, but they're not the quality that I get, so they hire me, right? And so it's the same thing for every different industry, including this, is that it can be hard to think. For me, it's always like the posture, you know what I mean? Like, or like where your arms sit, or keeping your arms in. Like, those are the things that I get wrong, and sometimes that could be negatively impact you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Things like that, especially done over periods of time. If that's how you're doing something every time, that kind of repetitive use in poor positions can lead to things like injury, and kind of throw you off the wagon there too.
Yeah. So strength training and several planes of motion to improve maintaining lean body mass, which can help control body fat mass, and always keeping your body function and movement patterns. Squatting, lunging, bending, those are all things that we probably all should be doing every single day as we sit in the office. Are there any tips and tricks for sitting while you're at the office?
I mean, I would say the first actually would be, to try to get up as often as you can.
If you've got a watch, it tells you. Mine does, and I don't listen to it, which is not good.
Something you can even do is, if you have a water bottle, I always have one with me.
Yeah.
But when you go to fill it up, don't fill it all the way. Just fill it like halfway.
Oh,
and then you
smart.
Get up and fill it up a couple more times.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Depending on what kind of setting you work in.
Yeah.
Taking the stairs instead of the elevator is obviously one that you've probably heard before. You can take little stretch breaks here and there. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but take 2-3 minutes out of your hour to
Yeah.
just throw a couple stretches in.
Just to get some movement going.
Yeah. But the more you can kind of get up on your feet, the better.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely.
you're not kind of constantly in that seated, hunched posture. Your hips getting tight, your upper back getting tight, your lower back probably aching.
What about people that are like on their feet all day long? So like very extensive jobs, like I'm thinking like carpentry and things like
Yeah.
that. Are there any good things, tips and tricks for them if they're standing a lot? That obviously you're standing, so it's like
Right.
staying fit or just like stretching pieces to that.
Yeah, I would say so. That's one where taking care of your body is going to be extra important.
Is that like the cardiovascular training, things like that?
That's absolutely going to be helpful.
Yeah.
You want your heart to be functioning well, especially if you are working a little bit more strenuous of a job. But doing things like stretching, proper nutrition is going to be really important too.
Yeah.
That's going to really change how you feel when you're doing almost anything. But especially if you're working, in a lot of those trades jobs, maybe early hours, or some people are on call all the time. They're working at all times of the day. But making sure you set aside some time to, stretch a little bit. Strength training is still super important too.
Yeah.
And like Kelsey said, moving through multiple planes of motion. That's one thing that I mentioned to her is, like bending, twisting, squatting. That's probably stuff that you're doing all day, every day.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to do it efficiently, and also be strong in those planes of
How many of
motion,
you
those
have walked
movement patterns.
upstairs and been like,
Right.
I'm winded,
Yeah.
So if you've got stairs in the building of your, that could be a good one. Step away, walk up and down them every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Nice. Yeah, those are all great things. So, something we had talked about and we had written down was ask yourself what you would like to be able to do in 10 to 20 years and even beyond. And I think that's really strong, right? Like, we don't think about the future in a lot of aspects, not only just in this sense, but, somebody passes away and you don't know what to do, or you have a tragic thing happen and you didn't have a backup plan or you didn't have any like insurance in place, right? Like a lot of these things are consistent across all jobs that we deal with here at the chamber or in the real world and in life. And so I think that's a really awesome question to ask people is, what do you want to do in 10 years? I want to be able to still walk my dogs, be able to like pull and restrain them when they're trying to pull me. Like I need that strength of being able to manage that so that if I own a dog rescue or I do, I have more dogs, that I'm the dominant one in the situation, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, dog walking is a good one. But, even just something as simple as, doing your own grocery shopping still.
Yeah.
Or just being able to, grab things off of a high shelf or to be able to get up and off the couch without having to grab the arm and push yourself off.
Toilet seats.
Yeah,
You got,
toilet
that's
seats
hard.
and-
You get stuck. Your life alert.
raking leaves, mowing
Yeah.
the lawn, things that you're used to doing all the time that become more difficult over time, if you're not using your body and moving it the way that it's meant to move.
Well, think about it too. Some of us watching have family, right? So like family vacations, I think about like the if you can't walk in the sand really well, or if you have a hard time moving or taking long trips like Disney and things like that, you miss out on those life events because you're not taking care of your body, right? So what's great to think about with this whole topic is that this is more than just weight loss, right? Like obviously that's a great added aspect to it, right? And but having more thought around why working out is important, not just for self-image, but for personal life and quality of life is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now nutrition, you talked a little bit about that. Now, do you guys do anything at your place with that? Do you recommend? Like, do you guys obviously power partner with certain people? I mean, you're very knowledgeable and probably well versed in your industry to be able to talk about nutrition and things like that. Because I think on the flip side, some of us probably do really good at working out, but then don't eat well, or they eat well but don't work out. And so I know they have always been something that goes hand in hand. But do you guys talk about that at all at the fitness?
Yeah, so
Cross Kicks?
we have 3 big nutrition programs that we run.
Oh, nice.
Throughout
Okay.
the course of every year. We're actually in the midst of our 90-day challenge right now, and with those, we put together personalized nutrition packets for everybody that's participating.
Oh,
And we have everybody track their food in an app called MyFitnessPal.
okay.
So
I've
that
used
we
it.
can, so that we can see, what their day looks like nutritionally, and we give them targets each day as far as calories and macronutrients, and we'll go through literally like line by line in their food logs, give feedback,
Which is great, and
make
this is why
notes.
you want to hire them, because when I had this app, I'm like, I don't know, what, 40% carbs?
Yeah.
I like,
Right.
and then it's probably not good, and so I don't know these things, right?
Yeah, and so we give specific notes on suggestions of things to add, take out, substitute,
Okay.
Increase,
Yeah.
decrease. We kind of get in the nitty gritty with it, and help people kind of understand what proper nutrition looks like.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and it's good too, and a lot of this helps because some of this can cause high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease, respiratory. There's a lot of different things, and a lot of the times you hear people taking medicine for that, and so it's nice that this is a different option, right? A different path and a different avenue that you can take to helping those things. And so I think just staying mobile, moving, and speaking with professionals like Devin can help, just because it's important to be able to just know those things. And like for me, I have way too many things to focus on every day. Like it's hard for me to even know any of that stuff. So I want to let them tell me what to do so that it makes my life better, right? And we all feel better when we're feeling good, right? And even if we don't see the difference, we feel it. And I think that's important that people forget to, to think about.
Yeah, Kelsey just mentioned some chronic diseases and such, and with a lot of those, there may be some that have a genetic component, but a lot of them are totally preventable with lifestyle. Proper nutrition and exercise can go a long way in helping you completely prevent those things. And so a gym membership or working with a trainer is an investment right now, but it's in the long run, it'll save you the prescription medications, the extra doctor's visits, and all those things that you might experience later on, or for some people even earlier on. Then you end up with a longer runway of having those extra things as a part of your life. And like I said, things that you can avoid, if you take up a proper exercise regimen and nutrition plan now rather than waiting.
We talk about this a lot, in the fact that people are more easy to, or more amped, I should say, to spend money on like tangible things, right? Like, new shoes that cost $200, or a brand new phone, a brand new, Labubu's or things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, people spend stupid money on tchotchkes, is what I call them. But then when you think about like a membership that costs like $50 a month or whatever it is, I'm sure you can find out his actual pricing online and on our chamber website. But those things people bat an eye at more often, and it's silly, because those are the things that are going to actually change our lives, where, okay, maybe shoes do help you walk, and you probably need them to go to the gym to work, and you need good shoes to make good decisions. But in general, people are more amped to bat an eye over a service of some sort versus a tangible product, because it's not there, right? And until you see it, you don't feel like you're getting anything from it, and people think that they're wasting their money. And so good things take time, and I think that's important to always remember. And just know that the way you are the tangible thing that you should be investing your money into, right?
Right.
And so fitness is just more than being snatched. But it's also a benefit of being, in shape, right? Is being snatched. You're snatched. I'm not snatched. I've seen him without a shirt on. I'm like, damn. I'm like, I want to be that snatched up. So anything else you want to talk about within this topic, that you can think of or important for our listeners to hear?
No, I would just, the big thing I would say is, if you're not doing anything as far as exercise go, is, like was mentioned early on, is, try to find a way to start today.
Better late than never, right?
To me, it doesn't matter if it's with us or, somewhere else, but, it's going to be super important for you and your long-term health to do that as soon as possible, and start to kind of get into that routine, start building those habits, start, getting your body into a place, where it's more comfortable doing all these things, and stronger in all these positions and movement patterns. And, it's only going to benefit you as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome. All right, so closing thought today, guys, is your body is the only real place that you will ever live. So you should be taking care of it, thinking about it, and calling Devin to help you work out, because that's what we all need in our lives. Well, thank you for being here. How can people find you? So obviously you can find their information on our chamber website. They've got coupons up right now for member-to-member deals, as well as local coupons for anybody that's in McHenry County. But where else can we find you? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook, Cross Kicks Fitness McHenry.
McHenry, at McHenry.
Because we do have 4 locations. And then, we're at 1728 North Richmond Road, so we're a little north of Route 120.
If you remember the old Applebee's, Target parking lot, Panera Bread.
Or Harbor Freight's. Yeah.
Harbor Freight, that's like the area you guys are at.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing more.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.